Thank you. That's a gutsy move right here.
Tony, with how much college athletics has changed over the past few years, how much has that impacted, or has it, the way you recruit? I mean, just say 15 years ago when you're going to recruit with, say, Klay Thompson, it seemed a little simpler then than it does now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I mean, how do you look at that?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a new time. I think, you know, I don't need to repeat myself, but in there I talk about, I think you look at, we're trying with this, the way this team is assembled, kind of look at it in 2-year increments. This is the last year of COVID. Kind of, I think it's about time, right?
Yeah, right.
No comment on that. Keep going. Yeah. But so, you know, there will be some of the super 5th, 6th, 27, 26-year-old players. Yeah. But after this year, it'll get back to a 4-year program. And I mean, I guess if there's an old-fashioned red shirt, and so we've said, all right, so let's look at this with our team. Yes, and Jalen Ward, our only 2 seniors. This team is going to be together for 2 years. Could you lose a player or 2 after? Absolutely, all that stuff's real. But the core of it will be together for the next 2 or 3 years. So next year, when the COVID year goes, you're going to have a team that's played together that's mainly juniors and seniors with a lot of experience. That's not saying this year is a throwaway. No, I think this year's team has a chance to be good. But I think, to answer your question, in terms of recruiting, I don't think you can think 4 or 5 years, redshirt, build it. You're thinking a little more in 2-year increments. And I said this up there, until and probably the next step is, you know, the collective bargaining agreement. Right. Again, when you played in the NBA, it was the players, it was the owners, and they would come together and agree on some stipulations until there is a salary cap, until there are transfer regulations, until there's tampering regulations, what involvement that agents and all those things come, until there gets to be some regulations, that will be healthy. Then we're going to be in a space where it's regulated more. No question, I don't think any coach disagrees that it's a billion-dollar industry and now the athletes shouldn't have some of the revenue, but without the regulations, it's kind of it's making it really difficult for some of the Olympic sports, some of the other programs, because everyone's at different places. So I think that is going to be the next step. The days of amateur athletics are gone. I hope that we'll be able to always honor the student athlete still. That'll never become where the academics are taken away from it, that they still can be students. But so until there's some regulations, it's what it is. But I think you think in those smaller blocks. I really do, the 2-year blocks, what I say when you're building a program.
How much more difficult has it made your job, or has it, since you first got into business? I mean, you have to do so many more different things.
It's very different, but you just have to evolve. Rules change, and you know you have to evolve. But I think everybody would be on the same if there's some more regulations, but because of the perfect storm of, you know, how the rules came into account with, you know, agents being allowed to represent, you got transfer portal, you got the NIL all at once, boom. Yeah. Without the regulations, it makes it real difficult for a standardized or level playing field. Like in the past, some people would cheat, some wouldn't, but there was a standard. So I think when we get back to that, that'll help. I think that is the next step. And I'll tell you, I'll say this, and this is something that's I feel really important is getting lost in this. Once we get to the point where there is revenue sharing, I think a ripple effect that not a lot of people are talking about is the mental health aspect for our student athletes. Mm-hmm. When you have to, you know, pay a student athlete, and it can be FOIA, you know, people know this is how much these student athletes are making because it's coming from the university. Right now, everything's kind of there. Yeah. There's going to be some pressures and mental health things. The way people are attacked on social media, when students know exactly, well, this guy next to me is making this, when professors know that, when fans and enemies. And so I really worry in the attempt of trying to do this, I just think it's worth noting, and I worry a lot about the mental health of the pressures that will come as we enter into this new way. And I hope that as we move forward, there's going to be some protection in this. And again, I wish things could be private, but I understand there has to be some, you know, everyone needs to know, so we're on this level playing field. But I'm very concerned about that for the future of our students.
Tony, I wanted to ask you about a big picture question about football. Everybody, you know, conference realignment is chasing football dollars. TV money seems to be driven by football dollars. Basketball pays the bills for the NCAA with March Madness, but do you worry about basketball becoming I don't know if marginalized is the right word, but it just feels like everything has been football in the forefront with all these crazy moves going on, and that basketball is sort of taking a back seat, and if that's healthy for the sport.
Yeah, I was talking to he'll remain nameless, who was at a very prominent school that had a basketball friend who had a prominent football team, and he said he was talking to his AD like, hey, we're always making decisions about football, and the AD said to him, no, he said, we're not making decisions about football, we're making decisions about money. These are money decisions, they're not football decisions. They're not basketball decisions. They're financial decisions, let's call it what it is. So, you know, as TV revenues, things expand, and, you know, universities are going to have to probably step in and help out. I don't know how this, you keep saying this isn't sustainable. This is what it feels like, right? Until there's regulations. That was my point of saying that stuff. But is basketball going to be marginalized as that? I don't know. I mean, I think this sounds strange coming from me. I'm not worried about basketball or football. I'm worried about a lot of the Olympic sports that there's been so many opportunities for so many people to become our greatest leaders, to have opportunities of education and experiences that I think are going to be in jeopardy because of this model we're going to, this pro model, which it is what it is. That's what's going to get maybe more than marginalized. That's the concern. I don't think basketball will ever be marginalized or football won't. I really don't. I could be wrong, you know, but I say that the real concern, and I don't know if there's anything anybody can do, is I worry about those sports that have provided opportunities and education for those less fortunate that wouldn't have had a chance. That's what's one of the big things that's at stake. That, to me, is the mental health stuff that's coming, are real concerns. But I know what we're chasing, and that's what it's about.
Coach, Tony, in terms of your offense, how different is it? I mean, different enough that the fans will notice?
Everybody's asking, well, I guess we're going to be this run and gun team. No, look, we're going to be so fast. You know, remember Loyola Marymount?
Right.
I mean, it's, you know, if we have the ball and we're not shooting within 5 seconds, I'm fine. No. The reality is this. Last year's team, great character. They finished third. They won 20-plus games. They had great character. Got blown out 7 or 8 times, but they could get up off the mat and still be that successful. But we couldn't connect. When we were off with our shooting and teams were on, like the separation occurred, we haven't been beat like that. So we said, all right, what do we need to address? We feel like we have to bring some shooting in the program and not lose. We lose 2 of our best defenders, right? But can we open up the floor and stretch the floor? That was kind of a constant when we struggled a lot, as we just, you know, the teams would scheme against us differently. And so we tried to add in the portal and through that some guys that could stretch the floor and shoot the ball. What I think you'll see, and we'll always adjust, is spacing. I think the floor and what we're trying to do, you know, it all looks good until you get in competition, but you're going to see more of an open floor. We'll use ball screens more, and but just studying, looking at where we think there can be some more opportunities to hopefully shoot some more good rhythm threes, open up the lane with the shooting, and, you know, not compromise other areas. I think that's what you'll see. I've always been, if we have an opportunity and it's a good shot early, take it. If you play against a great defensive team, sometimes you can't. So you still have to play in a way that helps you win. I don't know if we'll score more points, less points, whatever. You will see more of an open floor. I think that will be clear to you. And yeah, absolutely, if there's opportunities and we can go, but it's really what gives you the best chance to win.
So
that's the adjustment.
So the pace really isn't different, or is it different?
I mean, I think it just depends. I mean, we're trying to, if there is something there early, and I think the way we've tried to structure our offense, and we'll see how it goes, sometimes there's good early open shots, absolutely. So, again, pace is something that is dictating how you defend, how quickly, you know, the offense can break you down and then going. But if we can get some more opportunities to get up and down, yes. But we're not going to, as I joked early, be a team that's like, wow, they're just fine for now. I think you'll see space, and hopefully you'll see some more pace, unless it's a great defensive team you're playing against.
What made you, because obviously you couldn't just look at that as last year's, okay, that's just a one-year thing, I'm not going to tear everything up just because of how one team played offense, 1 year's team played offense. What made you think, yeah, no, I think it's worth doing now?
Yeah, I think the game continually evolves. I mean, you guys probably, to the untrained eye, and I'm not saying any of you are trained, don't take me that way. we've evolved with our defense. We've made adjustments. We do things as the game evolves, as players evolve. And the same thing even with our offense. So much of it is personnel driven. But you look at it and say, okay, we got to kind of maybe, now we have to bring in some new players. You look at personnel and how you have to play. But I think we have to find ways when you have shooting to use that and not let people just jam the lane. Again, there are going to be nights, obviously, you're not shooting well and that happens. But I've oftentimes, with the national championship team, we made some big adjustments offensively that year. I always look at offensive efficiency. We were very poor in offensive efficiency this last year. Poor. As low as we've been in a long time. And so what can we do to become more offensively efficient? Whether that means if it's playing slower, playing faster, spray foot, whatever that we can do, whatever we can do to improve that. Because that's to me what it's about, your offensive efficiency and your defensive efficiency, not how many points you allow or how many points you score, how efficient are you? And I think that's what you get to. But yeah, looking at last year's team, looking at other teams, like, well, how can we evolve in that?
So who are the new guys that you expect to help shooting-wise? Because obviously you just look on paper, no one was like a big double-figure scorer at their old school.
No, there's some unproven guys, but I think Isaac McNeely is now an upperclassman. Matane shoots the ball. TJ Power, we recruited him out of high school, is a shooter. Elijah Saunders from San Diego State can stretch the floor at playing. You can play a forward spot, you can play a small ball 5. We have some of those. Ishan Sharma from Canada, terrific shooter, incoming first year. So we'll have some guys that are improving, and I don't want to leave other guys out, but we have more. We're different than last year's team. Last year's team had certain strengths, but we're different than last year. Less experienced, but different in terms of the ability to shoot the ball in more positions. Not every position, but more positions.
Coach, how do you?
NIL's been so big here recently and everything. How have you seen the recruiting process change over the last couple of years as NIL's expanded?
A lot. I mean, there's guys that we've lost out on that we never would have lost out on before. Certain schools are getting players, and I just think that's become a big part of it, and I think it has to become a part of the recruiting process, but I think you'll hear some coaches that say this and some won't. If that is the number one thing, I'm looking for the highest bidder, and probably Virginia's not the place. But, it's got to be a holistic approach. But, yeah, no, it's changed. I think it's allowed some teams to either fix their team or rebuild it quickly by, if they have a big enough budget or NIL fund, salary pool, or I don't know what terminology we're allowed to use or not use. It doesn't matter, to be honest. But I think those teams that can boom quickly. They have the funds, and that's what people are looking for. Only boom. That's what a team together quickly. So that's what's changed, as far as the building up.
And what's your process of identifying the players that you want to go after and kind of fit the mold of what Virginia wants within this process?
I mean, I think it's similar to what others. I mean, you have to look at what your needs are. Certainly, you have to look at. You can't take the shortcut. Obviously, the character piece is huge because that's the truth here. And as we say, when you're going to go through the hard times, and if you've got guys that are just interested in how much money they got and how does this benefit me. No, it's got to be about, yes, you and us, and then how can we build this? And I always hope that, and it is becoming less, but I always hope that the education from a school like Virginia and from those findings matters too.
Coach, forgive me for the two-part question. The first part of it being that, how do you assess someone like a TJ Power who, is there anything that you're seeing on him that maybe you didn't see, or maybe he didn't have the opportunity to kind of show when he was at Duke or what have you?
I think what was important with not all, but most of our guys that we've added from the portal is we recruited them out of high school. So he was one of our top recruits. We really tried to target him, and Duke, saw him and he played really well, and they got involved, and obviously he chose to go there. So what we knew from before, as opposed to, if we just based it on film when he played at Duke, that's hard, because it's such a limited sample size. So knowing that we were recruiting him hard out of high school, and obviously saw him a little bit with Duke, that was important, and he's got 3 years left. And again, as I said, we needed to bring in some skill, guys that could stretch the floor. He's a 6'8", 6'9" guy, that can play, the 3, the 4, has some, he's not just a shooter, but has some real good skill, and is willing to work and knows he just wants a chance to have a bigger role as he continues to evolve, and that's kind of how that played out. So, and then we've seen that in practice, and like all our guys, sure we got work to do, but they showed those flashes of things that you recruited them for out of high school.
And my second question being a guy that you coached at Wazoo, being Klay Thompson. How do you envision him fitting in now with a whole new group?
I don't. I envision him with Steph, and I see the Splash Brothers. But Klay, being a veteran, as long as he's healthy, because he plays efficient, and with a guy like Luka in those, and he gets going, he'll be fine. Klay, it's been awesome to see him evolve his personality. I mean, I had him as a freshman, and he hardly said 2 words. Now he's Mr. Congeniality with the media, but he'll be great. And it's as long as he's healthy, I think that's it. But the way he plays, and for him a new start in this time, I think it'll be exciting for the end of his career with a talented young team. So I'm hopeful for him, and excited to see a lot of those guys you get to coach having success.
Sure.
It's pretty cool.
Thanks,
This year you have to go to.
I was talking to Tane, and he said something that, and thank you very much for